When the pale, silver-gray Seasmoke swoops into your roster, you're looking at the most polarizing legendary champion in the game. Ask around your server, and you will hear two completely opposite opinions. Half the player base labels him as useless garbage, while the top-tier combatants are quietly using him to dominate endgame PvP. It is incredibly frustrating to pull a famous, iconic dragon, put him in your lineup, and then watch standard purple epic dragons deal twice as much damage. So we need to answer a practical question. Is Seasmoke actually a terrible pull, or is the community just using him completely wrong? Seasmoke operates as a specialized utility support, prioritizing strategic interference over raw frontline melting. Judging him strictly by his damage numbers ignores his actual job on the battlefield. Let's look at his combat mechanics. Seasmoke's standard attack doesn't fire constantly. It specifically triggers on rounds 3, 6, and 9. This side-by-side chart shows why early game players find him underwhelming. His 60% base damage looks anemic next to standard epic damage dealers. Watching the trend line over the first 3 rounds, an aggressive epic team outpaces a Seasmoke setup. Relying on him early lacks required burst damage. But the raw damage is a distraction from his actual weapon, his command skill, Cleansing Wrath. Instead of burning enemies, Cleansing Wrath actively strips up to 3 positive status effects right off the opposing dragons. Removing those effects effectively neutralizes enemy compositions that rely on stacking heavy damage and defense multipliers to win. You are sacrificing raw early DPS to gain the ability to disable the enemy team's most powerful buffs. That utility sounds great on paper, but there is a steep habit investment curve. Running Seasmoke between 1 and 5 stars is a massive gamble. At those early levels, his cleanse only has a 20% base activation chance. That low percentage makes him incredibly inconsistent. He will frequently fail to trigger his ability right when you need it most. This progression chart shows his PvP win rate impact remaining dead flat early on, before spiking sharply upward at 6 stars. Here, activation consistency becomes reliable, but the horizontal axis shows crossing from 5 to 6 stars requires brutal resource volume, demanding extreme financial spending or time. If you can push him to the ultimate 10-star endgame, the payoff is massive. His cleanses spread to a 3rd target, and his physical damage finally jumps to a highly competitive level. Making him function requires such a heavy premium investment that you have to actively stop upgrading your other legendary damage dealers to focus entirely on him. Even at 6 stars, you cannot plug Seasmoke into random teams. He only provides value when placed in a tightly synchronized formation with specific dragons. The premier anti-meta composition places Seasmoke directly alongside Malachite and Calspire. Here is how it works. Seasmoke strips the enemy's buffs and recovery effects, rendering the opposing player's Malachite useless. While they struggle to heal, your Malachite keeps Calspire alive. Calspire survives the early rounds and then drops massive panic damage across their roster. There is a secondary option for players who prefer to strike first, a cavalry-focused composition, pairing Seasmoke with Tessarian and Caraxes. This alternate setup uses Seasmoke's initiative buffs to ensure your dragons attack before the enemy, outputting highly aggressive physical damage. Building this requires a serious economic trade-off. You have to commit to training cavalry troops, which will stretch your city's military economy if you have already focused your tech on archers. Realizing Seasmoke's utility requires dismantling your comfortable standard rosters to build these specialized formations from the ground up. Now let's map out exactly what you should do with him. If you are free to play, a low spender, or playing on a brand new server, and you do not have the resources to push him to 6 stars, bench him immediately. Take the items you would have spent on him and build up a reliable epic dragon like Sivin to guarantee consistent damage output. On the other hand, if you are a high spender or an endgame PvP player who is sick of losing to standard Malachite and Venator teams, this is the tool designed specifically for you. He acts as a tactical scalpel to dismantle those repetitive meta builds. As this flowchart shows, the path to a build decision requires 2 strict conditions. You must have the resources to hit the 6-star mark, and you must have the roster depth to pair him with dragons like Malachite and Calspire. Seasmoke represents the most expensive resource investment in the entire game. Surviving that brutal early investment converts a frustrating pull into a punishing tactical advantage that dismantles the established server meta.